up a bar stool and relax.
Hey, who wants to have some fun?
You've made it to Happy Hour with John Gaskins.
Oh, no. Not again.
Get ready for entertaining local and regional sports talk that will change your life. Or not.
And by the way, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Here's your host, John Gaskins.
Here's Johnny.
Hello! Ah! I'm back, baby! I'm back!
Welcome to Softball Today. I'm your host, John Gaskins.
Cheers, come on.
Here's Trent Singer and a happy softball toast to Lagunitas Hoppy Refresher. Non-alcoholic. They do sell great non-alcoholic drinks here at
for the kids
at the Orion Pub. Yeah, for the 12-year-olds that like to come and pull up a stool here at the Orion Pub in downtown Sioux Falls. It's Thirsty Thursday. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Wow, no exotic T-shirts today. Just you, Kansas City Chiefs sweatshirt.
Free four.
Yeah. 3-4. What?
Rasheed Rice.
Oh, okay.
You didn't hear about the news?
I did, yes. I did hear about the Rasheed Rice news, yeah. So I did, I'm just kind of, but all I got is a Canaries t-shirt. But this is new. This is Canaries merch.
Hot team right now, man.
Simple, not a Jabari Henry video
They're
game
off today,
shirt.
right? Are they off today?
No, man. They're playing all week.
Are they still at home?
They're still at home. They're still at home through Sunday. Go out, sfcanaries.com.
Grand slam last night from Jabari.
Yeah, that was something.
My cousin took a really good Snapchat and then sends me a text message because I go to check my Snapchat to see if maybe he got the grand slam, and then I get a text message as I'm checking it from him saying that his dog, because it's Wagon Wednesday, knocked the phone out of his hands and he didn't get to save it. And then 20 minutes later, he just texted me back. I'm so pissed off right now.
Well, did you know your cousin Scotty, who I've met here at the Orion and is just a wonderful young lad, he
seat upgrade, right?
He got the seat upgrade last night at the Canaries game.
Who coaxed that? Was that you?
No, I never coaxed the seat upgrade. I used to. I actually was in charge of that. Yes, like just going and randomly picking people in the upper bowl and then
randomly.
Yeah. Yes.
No.
I have integrity. But now, like, there's a thing because we're a grown-up operation where people sit in the big yellow chair when you walk into the front gate at the bird cage, and you take your picture, and then they tell you, send it to this, scan the code and send it, you can get a seat upgrade.
Yeah.
And so it's an actual, so Scotty did
got
it,
it.
I guess. He was, and he got to sit behind home plate from like the fourth inning on.
That's where he got the grand slam, too. And
right.
The grand slam he didn't get.
The grand, okay, the grand.
And Scotty happened to be, well, okay. He happened to be videoing it though, which is what I thought was just hilarious. And then, because I wanted to see it, I really wanted to see the grand slam. And then
anyway, and he was with his dog
Bronson.
We got on camera for me to introduce Scotty as the fan of the game, and not only did I only remember his name and not remember his wife's, who I had met with him 2 weeks ago,
Kelsey,
and had just told me twice what her name was.
Yep.
That I still forgot when I got on camera because I'm really good at my job. And then I forgot their dog's name because I was like, is it Brunson? What did he say? I asked him twice. Bronson. They told me, and then we go on, and I just have amnesia. But it was also, I was getting him mixed up with Jalen Brunson.
Oh,
you know, like
we're in that time, man.
We're in that time. There's a lot going on. That includes in our local sports scene here on a Thirsty Thursday from Orion Pub, because I open with Welcome to Softball Daily because we have never talked about so much softball in our lives. And it's fine. And it's, a bunch of big softball news this week. Very controversial. Robert Wagner gets fired at USD without even the mention of his name in the release of the announcement that there's going to be a change in leadership. I've got some new stuff on that. John Schimmel, the AD, has gotten back to me about this. I'll share what I'm able to share in a moment. And we're waiting to see who the next softball coach is going to be. Is it going to be Shannon Pivovar, whose big moment went viral in the big trip to Lincoln that Coyote softball just had for their best moment in school history? So we've tried to do our reporting. We've also done our opining. Matt Zimmer and I talked about it a lot yesterday, and so we'll move it forward today. But part of the discussion was, well, we don't know if Greta Melsted would take the job at USD, but you offer it to Augustanas. How many time NSIC champion coach?
6 tournament, 8 regular season.
Oh, my goodness. How many trips to the College World
14.
Series? 14 to the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
In 20
4
years.
to the College World Series.
4 to, so just, obviously, Greta. Just a Sioux Falls institution. And she got a new head coaching job at the University of Minnesota, not the University of South Dakota. Their coach, Piper Ritter, was fired 13 days ago. And Minnesota had been kind of a Big Ten powerhouse. The previous 2 coaches had incredible records, but it did not go well for Piper. Just barely over 500 at a school that's used to winning, that was winning 73% of its games in the decade before she got there. The coach she replaced left for Ole Miss and is still there. So Minnesota wanted a softball upgrade, and they got it in Greta Melsted, and good for them. What a hire. There's a lot we can get to with this. But that's where I will start. She is a Minnesota native, Albert Lee. She went to college and played softball at Carleton, which is in the Twin Cities area, Division III. And so this is a homecoming of sorts for Greta Melsted. And when we chatted with her a year ago about her softball life and journey here on Happy Hour, she did admit she had passed up higher level jobs than the one she has to continue her D2 powerhouse at Augustana. And I asked her about, you guys almost went Division I. You wanted to go Division I. Well, how did you feel about that at the time? And she basically said, I'm a trooper. I'll follow along, but I would have missed competing for national championships. And I said, yeah, because I think you guys would have done pretty well in the Summit League the second you got there. And she did not dispute that. But she said that, she has stayed at Augustana partly because of that. And so she takes the job at the University of Minnesota today. It all makes sense. Like if Greta Melsted was going to leave, her perch is like the queen of northern softball. Yeah. Okay, not just the NSIC, but like North Country softball. This was it. It makes total sense. If she was ever going to leave Augie, it would be for this job. Certainly a job in the Big Ten. She wasn't going to just move to a mid-major because it's not that much better of a job than Augustana. But this is like the job for her. I haven't asked her if it is. Just
you can assume.
Fairly confident in my assumption that this was one of the few jobs she would actually, because now she gets to compete for Big Ten championships and therefore national championships at the highest level.
100%. And I'll take it a step further because I think we brought it up last week on Thursday. I just briefly touched on it. Her son, both of her sons are goalies. They play hockey here in Sioux Falls. Talk about a change of scenery for her sons and getting the opportunity to now play in a very hockey-centric place in Minnesota. And then on top of that, playing for a program where you will obviously be expected to compete for national championships. You're playing in the Big Ten. What an opportunity, man. And all the reaction I've seen on social media from Gophers fans has been just so positive. I think they're excited about this hire too, and as they should be. An outstanding coach and human, really, that they're bringing along. I'll make it no bias or not hide my bias at all in saying that she is literally maybe my favorite coach at Augie. I love getting the chance to just talk with her. She's just one of the more human coaches that you'll ever truly sit down with. And there's a lot of those at Augie. I'm not, knocking any of the other ones, but there's something about Greta. There's a charm there when you talk to her. I interviewed her for 15, 20 minutes for a story I did on Kiera Lubavitch last week. And then we talked for 30 to 45 minutes about her sons playing hockey. Yeah. It's just like that with her, right? And little did I know, there may have been some conversations certainly happening at that point, and probably hockey was on the mind for her. So an awesome opportunity. My understanding is I think she's bringing Kelsey Thompson with her. Okay. And so, that's out of the question as far as, bumping up her in that position. An awesome opportunity for Kelsey Thompson. She's been a crucial piece of her recruiting process while she's been a coach at Augustana too. Kelsey Thompson runs South Dakota Renegades team, a club team where Augie has gotten a lot of players. And man, I'm really, really curious to see. I'll be following closely some Minnesota softball, a program I didn't care about at all before, but now I love their coach and kind of the Ben McCollum effect for me.
Well, the McCollum effect?
Well, I kind of started following Iowa basketball when they hired Ben McCollum.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Now I see.
You tracking?
It's tracking now. Thank you. Ditto on everything you just said about Greta as a person. And you've mentioned how Gopher fans, from what you've seen, have been excited. I mean, Cordell, video producer, illuminated me to somebody went and dug up a tweet from our show, this statement from Greta. I'm going to guess these are Gopher fans like, who is this? What is she about? Whatever. And just and they found this.
Probably having
that
those
was 90
expectations
seconds of Greta basically outlaying
and holding each other accountable,
what Augustana softball is all about, what she's all about as a coach, as you mentioned,
those expectations.
the human
I would
side
say
of
that's
it that she
probably
brings to the players, but at the
what
back
I
end, you heard,
brought.
X's and O's strategy. I mean, she's all
we're,
about.
We're all
she wants
about
to win, and
we're all about
what
building.
a run they
and
had.
We
They
want to
weren't very
apologize
good
for it. Very
most of this
strong
year,
women.
and then they just rip off 10 out of 11.
We want to produce very confident, strong women who feel like they can go
as a 5 seed
and change the world.
What a last hurrah!
And so
that's those
what
90 seconds you just heard.
That's what we're about. We just use softball as the venue, and I think the more I coach, the more I've been okay
90
about.
seconds of this is what I am all about.
That's
this is
always
why
been my
Augustana
goal.
softball has been,
but it's more what we
incredibly
focus on.
successful for 20 years, and this is
and
what
trust
I would
me,
bring
we
to the
focus on the
table
X's
if
and
I were
O's
to
and
bring
the
it somewhere
details of
else.
softball.
And clearly,
but we
Mark
really
Coyle
try to
in
put
Minnesota
everything in the
took
context
flyer.
of like
I mean, we
bigger life
some were
lessons
joking like
and
Minnesota
keeping
media
things in
were joking
perspective
that when
and,
Garrett
and
Ramoy, isn't this
being
crazy?
able to handle yourself
Second
when you
Augustana
leave
coach to
and
be offered
life
or at
throws
least
you
strongly
curveballs
considered for a
and
Golden
things like
Gopher
that.
job.
And I
Garrett
think
stayed.
that's
and when
really
Matt and I were talking
what my
about this
job
yesterday,
is.
Zim and I were like, well, maybe she'll stay. She wouldn't go to USD because she got such a great gig at Augustana, and USD is probably not that much better of a gig. And she got the kid in hockey and just stay put. But like Garrett Raboyne.
Yeah.
But like he turned down Minnesota probably for a lot more money. And so, but she took it. And I think it's because it feels like this is the one and only this is absolutely what I would take. If I were to, it would take this to leave Augustana.
I think she's shown incredible chops as a recruiter, though, too. Yeah. I mean, God, 813, 313 record at Augie. 813 wins at Augustana in 20 years. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's a program, too. I mean, like, historically, too, they'd been good in the NSIC. But Greta just, to maintain that, it's not easy, especially when you start talking about a conference where you have some Minnesota teams and you have some teams up in North Dakota and some places where, you're battling with some of those players, right? She brings in a lot of Minnesota players. It's what the area she knows the best.
Of course.
She does a really good job recruiting here. I'm curious to see. I think there's some talent around here that she certainly could draw up to a place like Minnesota. Yeah. And I'm really there is some really good softball in the Sioux Falls area. And now she's got a footprint there, right? She's been here 20 years. She knows this area probably just as well as she does the area where she comes from. And
another reason why she's the perfect hire. I don't know who the other candidates were, and I don't really care.
I really don't.
But like it all checks out and makes sense.
We've been talking about when is Greta going to get an opportunity like this for a while.
She has, but I don't know if it's been like this.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, Zim's fairly confident she turned down a South Dakota State offer within the last decade.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
And that wouldn't surprise me at all either because
it's
not that much of a step up.
Well, people
underestimate
100%. I think a lot of fans who aren't as glued in or understand, maybe Augustana's facilities are underestimating it. Yeah. I mean, you talk about hockey. Obviously, they've got a brand new hockey arena. I think they have one of the best D2 football arenas in the country. Yep. I love that. I love Kirkby Over Stadium. On top of that, their baseball stadium is hosting the state tournament this weekend, and it's a fantastic facility. Bowden Field just got those new lights put in a few years back, too. It's a fantastic softball facility. They've hosted conference tournaments and everything there. The step up to go to USD or SDSU is not quite a step up. It's pretty linear. Yeah. As far as facilities, as far as what the athletic department, how the athletic department views you, I think it's really valued in Augustana, especially those coaches. I think that's one thing I will give Josh Morton a lot of credit for is stepping into this role. He's been able to continue to continue down the paths of some of these coaches that have come before him that have been really successful. Tim Huber, Jerry Olszewski, Greta Melsted. You could argue there's been some others that have gone by away, but in keeping people like them around, they have maintained a level of success.
Yeah.
Greta won a national championship there in 2019. Huber won one in, I believe it was 2017, right? So
18.
you're talking 18,
Yeah.
So you're talking about like two coaches that, we've heard a lot of chatter that they probably could have gone on for better jobs. I think OJ's right in that same conversation too. And they've stuck around because there's value there that a lot of people really don't, from the outside, don't see. I mean, you just go there and see those facilities because they are some top-notch facilities. And I'm in agreement when you talk about viewing a job like USD and SDSU as not quite a step up. It's a little bit more linear than I think a lot of people would expect.
Well, they operate like a Division I operation.
Yeah.
And it's intentional. They wanted to very badly go to the Summit League in Division I, and the Summit League wouldn't invite them. And so they'd already made some commitments. They'd already been updating facilities like baseball and softball. And
Elman's getting a huge upgrade right now.
That was built in 2010, long before any days they had Division I in mind. And it's not big, but it's beautiful.
Yep.
Obviously, Midco Arena is a division. It's the smallest, but still Division I quality. Yep. And who knows? It might happen someday. Summit League could use some teams.
Yeah.
But anyway, they operate but what's been the advantage of that is, again, they pivoted. Stephanie Herseth-Sandlin had a lot to do with it, but so did Josh. And together they have pivoted to, okay, we're D1 hockey and we're D2 everything else, like Mankato is, like St. Cloud is.
State.
And it's working, and it keeps them elite at D2. And but for Josh Morton, it's a big moment, even though it's quote-unquote only softball. It's not one of the big sports, but it is
100%.
big because Greta's made it so big there. And look, you are so correct. Like, he hasn't really had the opportunity to make the big hires. But he has for men's and women's basketball.
Garrett Rabwin, too.
He hires Cody Schilling to replace a legend in Tom Billiter. So far, so good. I mean, Cody got his footing underneath, went 12-20, but then came right back and won 20. Second place in a really tough 14 whatever team league the NSIC is. So that's going well. Women's basketball totally whiffed on the replacement for Dave Krauth. And that went 1 year. It was a disaster. I felt bad for the lady because I played golf with her and she was wonderful and I got to be friends with her husband. But it was a bad hire, bad move. You move right on. And it's been an uphill climb for Nate Vogel, and we'll see what happens there. I think the jury is still out. Football, he hasn't had to make a decision because OJ's been there, continued to be successful, and they do what they need to do to keep him happy in there. But at Augie, softball is a high-profile sport because of the success of Greta.
Yep.
And so it'll be interesting to see what move he makes and where he goes. You've already answered the question. Like, the first person you would think of on staff is going with Greta to Minnesota. So
likely.
Likely.
What I've hersed is Kelsey Thompson's likely following her to Minnesota. They're pretty tied together, and it's not surprising at all. I'm in full agreement. This is an era of college athletics where you can't sit around too much to try to, you got to act quick. You're talking about players potentially jumping, and they've been so good with player retention at Augie over the years. As far as the softball program, baseball programs have been pretty good with it too. But this is going to be a challenge now, and now Josh is going to have to act pretty quick to, I'd say find the right person here to fill some big shoes, man. Those are some big shoes from Greta Melsted.
As I do so often, I interrupted my own sentence a few minutes ago, and no one remembers or cares, but I'll circle back to there was jokes about Garrett Raboyne turning down the Gopher job from Minnesota sports media because who would want to work for Mark Coyle? And you can Google Mark Coyle and you can go ahead and do that, but
I don't think that's the reason he turned it down.
No, those are just jokes. But obviously, Greta Melsted doesn't mind working for him because, again, you're going to a place that has had success in softball and went through 6 lean years. So guess what? She's probably well welcomed. And what were you snickering about?
I just say they're very similar scenarios, vastly different opportunities.
Interesting.
The pressure isn't quite there for softball as it is in hockey.
No.
But I will say, like, I love the similarities you're striking, right? Yeah, you got one coach here who was so content, but he's also, like, only been here a few years and wants to, he loves this place and wants truly to see what more he can get out of it.
Yeah.
And Greta's been here 20 years. So the scenario, right, they differ in that sense, too. Greta's, this opportunity for her, like, it's been a long time coming. We could talk circles around that, but I've been saying for probably 3 or 4 years since I've really been covering this team and this program closely, when is Greta Melsted going to get on the radar of some big programs? And here it is.
Yeah. Well, you can get on the radar. It's another thing to get hired. Maybe she applied for the job that Piper Ritter got. Piper was an assistant for a very successful coach that moved on to Ole Miss. So 16-36 this past year. Mm-hmm. So there's work for Greta to do. And in this day and age, a lot of coach leaves. A lot of players are probably going to leave. But maybe they'll stick around for her. And she probably has an idea of who to bring with her, either from Augie or who she's already been trying to recruit to Augie. And the last point about this is you almost never see this hire, this day and age, this kind of hire from the big sports. You don't hire in Power 4, especially Big Ten, like the biggest kind of most prestigious Power 4 league there is. They don't hire Division II coaches. No. They don't.
I mean, even Ben McCollum had to go to Drake before he went to Iowa.
Yep. Yeah, it only took a year because he went 31-4.
Immediately proved it. But that is, to me, that's a thing, like, Ben McCollum is a perfect example of why I think coaches should be looking at the D2 level more. I think there's a lot of coaches that get passed up that don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, but when you're athletic director and a president of a big university, you just can't. You used to be able to. You can't justify a D2 hire, even if it's the best person for it. Those coaches have to go somewhere first to prove it. Jimmy Rogers, all he needed to do was go 500 at Washington State, which is good at Washington State, to get the Iowa State job. There's examples like that all over the place. And in fact, McCollum, 1 year at Drake, a year after Darren DeVries, it was a year at West Virginia to get the Indiana job. Anyway, I buried the lead of our guest today. Eric Henderson's on the show today.
Hey! Hendo!
Maybe we'll have to re-record the opening. Just kidding. We have a thing called social media. We have a thing called social media where people will, find out Hendo's on the show. But I guess in softball, either in softball it's more common. I don't know. I don't really care.
Has to be.
Or Greta's has such an incredible resume as a D2 coach and knocked her interview out of the park so well. And the recruiting footprint, all that, Minnesota girl made so much sense that's maybe the rare time you're going to hire a Division II coach. But she gambled on not taking mid-major jobs to get this one, and it paid off. She just stayed and kept Augustana awesome. And just hats off and thank you for your service, and we'll miss you.
For sure.
And we'll get her on the show at some point. When things have settled down over there. Now to mid-major softball and the USD situation. I've got some new information. There's only so much I can share, but I think I want to carry the conversation forward because there's so much vitriol, and when a coach leaves or is let go and there's mystery over it, and the university says very little about it, and you don't hear anything from the head coach after he releases a tweet, then. Now people start talking, and now people start accusing, and I've heard from both sides. And you go out to Happy Hour with John Gaskins on Twitter. You can see some responses as to people who think they know what's going on over there. And I'd love to get your reaction to all this. Any dots you've connected from your perspective?
Well, I think the thing that really unsettles people is after you have a season like that. And you see a change of direction, you automatically assume that there's something behind the scenes that we're not truly seeing. So everybody already wants to go ahead and connect the dots. I think the reality is that a lot of times there is stuff that the common fan and the common person just doesn't know.
Yes.
And decisions are made, that reflect that. It is hard to evaluate because they just did put together this crazy run where they're 20-34 or whatever it was, and they win a game at the NCAA regional, which is not easy to do for a program, especially a program that comes in as a 4 seed like that. And you automatically just start kind of making your own assumptions of what's going on, and I think it's best left up to the people who are making these decisions to address it head on.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is. And, a lot of times there's not the right time to say it, or when you're in the middle of a turnover or a change, you can't. I expect that we'll hear something from John Schimmel at some point, but, I trust that the decisions were made in the right interest of the players in the program.
Yeah. So far, instant reactions on Twitter and by me on this show, by Zimmer yesterday, were everything you just said. They had the greatest run, the greatest season in school history, and what the F? Yeah. And then the man's name was not even mentioned, and he was not thanked for his service, 10 years to the school. Well-documented, under-facilitated, under-resourced program by both the previous administration and this one. Whether that's absolutely true or not, I don't want to go to the details, but it's not a hotball It's not a softball hotbed. By the way, non-alcoholic drink, and I didn't have any alcohol before this.
It's a hotball soft bed out here.
Tough place to win in a lot of sports, including softball. The nature of the size of the town, the weather in a spring sport, all that. Okay, and so he did the best he could, and he came. So we've gone through all that. Like, it just. Whoa, but the record wasn't great, and you have an athletic director, as we have documented, within a few months on the job. Bob Nielsen's retiring. Some have alleged that he was forced into retirement. Can't confirm that solidly, publicly, but that happens, and he makes the right football hire, and he makes the right women's basketball hire, and then he gets a lot of controversy and flack for not renewing Eric Peterson, who to this point, love the guy, and he did an awesome coaching job last year with so many injuries, but Petey's never reached a Summit League tournament championship game, and after 5 years, no matter what you inherited, that's tough, and this guy isn't the guy who hired him, and a lot of athletic directors want to hire their own coaches, and so having said all that, those are the conclusions we rush to right now. How dare they not acknowledge how unclassy? You've seen the reaction from a lot of angry USD fans. From Zim and I, we just kind of go, well, that's a head scratcher. That's telling that nothing was said. Yeah. But maybe, just maybe, you basically said everything that I was going to bring to the table today. We don't know the full story here. Yeah. Perhaps there is a good, solid reason why John Schimmel did not even acknowledge Robert Wagner in the release about there being a change in leadership in softball. And look, again, you can follow my Twitter account. There's been accusations as to what was going on, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm going to give them oxygen. I just kind of did, I guess. But I can't, because I don't know who these people are with the accusations. John got a hold of me today, because he wanted to, because he had not gotten a hold of me, and that was also the tell, right? He's not talking to media, and again, there's a lot of conclusions you can make from that, but he obviously is not comfortable, nor is probably the school and people above him talking about the situation and why Robert Wagner's no longer the coach. No. We can firmly say his contract was not renewed. That's different from getting fired. It's kind of the same thing, but it's not. When you have a contract that's up for renewal, you don't have to. It's not 100%. Technically a firing. You don't have to have you technically do not have to have a reason. Yep. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've seen coaches in the CCHA. Yeah. I can recall, Michigan Tech made a change at coach. Mm-hmm. They just won a CCHA championship and had been really successful under Joe Sean. And there was a contract renewal. They didn't renew it, and they opted to bring in Bill McCult. That's pretty typical. When especially a lot of times if you're an administrator and you see an opening, and you can go that route because it's publicly and PR wise it plays better and you want to make a change and that's essentially what happened at Michigan Tech. Okay. And I'm assuming that it's a similar situation here at USD.
John Schimmel just has told me that he's unable to say really anything. Okay. But there is part of me that was wondering, and I was going to bring this to the table today before he got back to me. It was like the movie Draft Day. I wrote, when Kevin Costner writes down the name of the draft, no matter what happens today, remember to say or do this. And again, we've kind of said it, but I'll use these exact words. Often, if a dismissal was announced with such a lack of acknowledgement and appreciation, it might mean there is a lot more to the story than has met the eye. Those are my words. I wanted to make sure, and so I repeated that today. And so it feels like, without me knowing exactly why he was let go, that's as far as we can take it right now.
Yeah.
And that perhaps, and keep in mind, this is a public university, and this is a government-run operation. When it comes to anything regarding employment and a release of employment, human resources, takes a while for things to get sorted out. And that's why people really don't talk and stay quiet. And so maybe, just maybe, yes, there's a track record of the way John Schimmel has approached coaches and making coaching leadership changes so far, and staff leadership changes in his staff. Most of it's new there.
Yeah.
He wanted his own people. And some of the people that have been speaking out against this have been people who used to work there, and that is typical in a situation. Those are the people who tend to speak out. But again, it could just be he's biting a bullet. I'm not for sure. I don't know that if he is, but he might just be biting a bullet because he has to.
Take this into account too. When a lot of times, and you can say that's the way that Schimmel's acted in terms of, maybe wanting his own coaches in there, whatever. You can make your assumptions on why they have a different football coach, why they opted not to renew Hendo.
And we all agree he operates aggressively.
Well,
we all agree that.
My bigger point is, why do some ADs do that? Well, the reason they do that is, in my mind, it's to establish a level of loyalty within your athletic department, right? Okay. Is that fair to assume? I don't think that the difference in the softball head coach has any sway over that. You're talking, a lot of times when ADs do this, it's the bigger programs. It's football, it's basketball. It's the programs that you have the most fan interest in. There's not a ton of fan interest in softball at USD. There's some, but getting your own softball coach isn't giving yourself a better position as in your role as athletic director at USD. So I don't see any merit to the idea that John Schimmel wants to put his guy or his gal as the head coach at USD. There's no reason as to why that would be a thing.
Yeah, it's not a highly paid position.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of money has been raised and thrown into the big sports at USD, like a lot of schools in America. Dakota Dome renovations, a new arena for basketball, new training facility for a lot of the athletes, and softball to a degree. It's gotten some refurbishments, enhancements, and Wagner was hopeful more would come. When he was on my show last week after winning the Summit League tournament, sounded like a guy that was planning on still being the USD softball coach for sure. His tweet about stepping away lended to he wanted to finish his career there. What I can tell you that I feel comfortable saying is this is a man who had just moved into a new house, whose wife just got a new job in town, and whose daughter is a star pitcher on the high school softball team there. So even though he was kind of getting up there in age, and it's been a guy who coached most of his career in the Pac-12 and was not used to these sort of adverse conditions and limited resources, and slugged through winning about 40% of his games throughout his career before this lightning bolt the last 2 weeks. This was not a guy that had a foot out the door.
Yeah.
Okay. So whether this blindsided him, I don't know. The other thing to go off of is, have there been players who have rushed to social media or in media at all who have rushed to defend him? And I can't say I've actively tried to seek out the social media accounts of his players, but by now it'd probably be circulating. Like and that's not to say there's several players on the team. On any team, some players might like a coach, some might not like a coach.
Yep.
But you've gone through this, and I have, where at the college level, the players are made unavailable for comment when something like this happens. And so that's why it was very bizarre to you and to me on Monday that you were not able to talk to Robert Wagner or any of the players.
Yeah, the players, my understanding, though, from Sports Information was that the players are gone.
Yeah.
And so they were made unavailable.
Okay.
But, which, I don't know if
it felt like something else obviously was brewing to the point. So I'm trying to get a hold of Robert Wagner because he deserves to be able to tell his side of the story if he wants. And so this is definitely very much to be continued.
Yeah.
But I would, And social media-wise, some people spit out accusations on social media that turn out to be true. A lot of people don't. And you got to consider the sources one way or the other of what you read on social media.
Just remember, they're called fans for a reason.
Yes.
Because they're fanatics. And they think with their heart.
Fanatics, yeah. That's all Cordell's calling Trent's sweatshirt.
It's okay, Cordell.
Yeah, he's
still hurting from the Timberwolves.
Well, he's a Vikings fan, and they've never won a Super Bowl.
I know. This is just He's just projecting.
Well, speaking of racking up titles, because I think we've exhausted all that we need to today about USD softball, I think it's safe to say we may learn some more information in the future, and there's good reasons why we don't have a lot of public information to this point. And so don't just rush to immediate conclusions.
Yeah.
And we've tried to do our very best here on this show and with Matt yesterday. You can assess what you know. John Schimmel's record, everything that we know about USD softball the last few days. You can connect dots, try to draw conclusions, but I think public service announcement. Let's encourage everybody to take a beat.
Yeah.
To see what we may learn in the near future. Stampede, though.
That's right.
1 win away, baby.
1 win away.
So Matt and I have talked a lot the last couple of days. Mm-hmm. Me on Monday, him yesterday or Wednesday. All we have basically said is, isn't this great? I mean, in the city, the attendance numbers for championship series, Canaries last year, way more than they were for the finals in 2008 when they won.
Yeah.
Attendance for the Stampede, to
Killer.
Zim's recollection, way more than the playoffs and championship series in the past.
Yep.
And so it's been mostly about, isn't this great for Sioux Falls, and isn't it cool the support they're getting? But let's talk about the actual team and how they dominated these first two games of the finals, 3-0 and 3-1.
They played both of them at home. Yeah. And I'll say this, I think that they were really battle tested from everything they experienced and going through teams like Lincoln and Fargo. It set them up really well. And then to come on your home ice, I mean, they drew nearly 6,000 on Friday night. Yeah. They were over 6,000. I think it was 6,000, what was it, 880?
80.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so almost 7,000.
Saturday night.
Almost 7,000 fans on Saturday night. They had a tweet out. It's gone, but it was. They said it was a USHL Tier 1 record with over 45,000 fans in, believe it would have been 8 playoff games at home. That's incredible. I got to talk with Ryan about it on Monday. Just more so about. I wanted to go back to when he first got the job. I was one of the first people to talk to him about it, and I remember how excited he was about the job. He'd been an assistant coach there for 1 year in 2022, and so he'd had a taste of what this fan base was like. But I wanted to ask him more so about how have the fans delivered, and then also how do you feel like this has been? How have you been able to do this in the playoffs? It's not easy, right? I mean, in the playoffs, you're talking about season ticket holders not having a guaranteed seat. You got to find ways to get fans in that you typically don't. And one thing that really stuck out to me was he said one of the first things he did when he first got this job was trying to connect the front office staff, the guys who work under Jim Olander, and all those people who work a lot of hours during the week. Get them connected with the guys in the locker room and the coaches and the hockey ops staff. And that, making them feel like they're all kind of part of a family. Let's celebrate the wins together, right?
Yeah.
And, John, we walk around there when we're waiting to talk with players and coaches, and you kind of sense that, right? That there's other, the video people and the social media people and the ticket sales guys. They all hang out in that lounge area right next to the locker rooms, and I think a part of that is. When you make them feel like they're truly needed in this whole thing, right? You make them want to bring fans into the door.
Yeah.
And it's been a motivating force, I think, for everybody. Top down. He said that the players on Sunday spent the day texting guys like Corey McDonald, the executive vice president, works in ticketing, texting the people who work in ticketing and thanking them for making that experience possible. Like, these are the players sending personal text messages to people who work within the front office, and that's empowering stuff. I mean, when you're working, a day in day out job where it can sometimes feel pretty thankless to get words of encouragement like that from the players, that means a lot. And then in turn, the players want to go out and play. They feel obligated because there's 6,000 fans up there, and they want to perform in front of them. They don't want to let those fans down. So I think it's worked hand in hand. And I wrote about that today in my column of how that kind of has been a sort of hand-in-hand deal. But yeah, you talk about the team on the ice, man. This is a team that I really, really like what I see 1 through 4 in those lines. I think defensively, Matthew Grimes has been one of the best defensemen in the USHL in the playoffs this run, and Noah Minoso, who's an Augustana recruit, just an outstanding defenseman. They've got Jake Prunty on that team. He could be a top 15 pick in the NHL draft next year. He's a rookie this year in the USHL. He leads all rookies and all rookie defensemen in scoring, and so there's a lot. There's a lot to take away from this team, man, and it even goes to Tony Gasparini and making some great offseason moves, bringing in guys like Tobias Omen, who had that amazing top-shelf goal to get the scoring started on Saturday night. Bringing in a bunch of different guys, and a goalie too, who Ryan has spoke endlessly about being the best in the league.
Usually it kind of starts there, right? Softball and baseball, it starts at pitching. It's not the whole thing, but a sport like soccer or hockey, it's the goalie. You got a good one, you got a chance every single night, and gives up only 2 goals a game, 94% save percentage. I'm guessing that's near the top of the USHL. You ask his biased coach, yes, he's the best goalie in the league, and it kind of starts there. But the other thing I found intriguing about this team, I mean, the proof is in the record. It's what I find interesting about the story of this team is that they had the second best record in the USHL, but they play like and consider themselves underdogs with a chip on their shoulder. And part of that is a story you've already told, we've talked about here, that a lot of these guys got cut from other teams. A few on the team got cut by Fargo, the team they just took out. And they've won a lot of close games. I mean, 4 of the 5 games in the Fargo series were 1-goal games. That's hockey. The scores aren't very high. It's usually 1 or 2 or 3 goals, but they've had some sort of grit that gets them through and allows them to. It's tough to win all those games. There's a lot of them. It's tough to win all of them. They won 4 in a row, including 2 on the brink of elimination. No, they didn't win all 4 of those, obviously, but they won 2 in a row on the brink of elimination. There were 4
combined.
out of the 5
combined,
games in the series were 1-goal games.
Yep.
You can't win 4 games in a 5-game series.
Yeah,
but they won the last 2, but in this one they're cleaning up. But it's like they're clearly through 2 games. Correct me if I'm wrong. This hasn't been puck luck. They've outscored Muskegon 6-1, and so. But I think even though the stats or the records shows they should be playing for a championship, we shouldn't be surprised that they've won 2 games with incredible home ice, and yet they still operate like they're underdogs, and to the point where, as we learned after the game on Saturday, for the first time all year. Yeah. Club ownership offered to fly them to Muskegon, Michigan.
And they said, nah.
And they said, no, we'll take a big, long, dumpy bus. I mean, sure, it's a nice bus, but
he says
it sucks bus rides suck. You've been on,
yeah,
you've all been on
fun.
Them. And that's at least 10 hours, I'm guessing. And
when you're with the boys, when you're with the boys, it's different, right? I'll say this, and we asked him.
Cordell says, no, it's not. Bus rides suck.
For them, it's different. They've been, and we talked about this, John. They've spent the last 2 series saying they just want to play another weekend. We just want to play again. Well, now here's the game. This is the game you've spent all season playing for, right? This is the one, and here they are. I think a lot of what you talk about too, though, with it being kind of their identity, right? That identity, that DNA starts from the coach.
Of course.
And Ryan Crothers is a Northeast Long Island guy from Farmingdale, right there on Long Island. And he had Ethan Wittenbach, who was one of the top players in college hockey last year on his first team last year. He's from Long Island. He's got guys from Staten Island. He's got guys from all up in that Northeast area on that team. And that is a that is part of it, right?
It's rugged.
It's a rugged, brash city.
And when you're in I'm not a big New York expert, but I think I understand it. When you're from Long Island, you're literally on the outside looking in.
Yes.
Of the big city, of the big party, of where it's all at.
I like the Game 1 story, right?
The Islanders compared to the Rangers. Enough said.
Their Game 1 story, a guy named Joey Macrina, the shortest guy on the ice. He's 5 foot. He's not even 5'6". He's 5'5.5", and they list him as 5'6". He scores 2 goals in that game, and propels them to their first win to kind of get the thing started. And then he had the game winner the night Tuesday night before when they beat Fargo. He had the game winner late in the game. This guy's been hot. It's guys like him that are what this team is. Yeah. It's Thomas Zocco. It's J.J. Montero, who I couldn't interview a few weeks back because he had his mouth sewn shut because he broke his jaw, and he was still playing through it. It's like that kind of player, that they have truly embraced with this team. And so I'm pulling the hell out of him to win this thing because I think Ryan's an outstanding coach. He another guy too who, amidst all this stuff going on, I sent him a message on Monday or on Sunday night and say, hey, just want to get ahead of it. Can I chat with you early this week before you guys head out? He said, whenever you want to chat, Trent, you can always chat. Thank you for everything you do. Like, that's just kind of who he is. Yeah. Called him up, texted him Monday. He says, hit me up at 2. Answers the phone. He's just always making himself available. Just a great dude, and I'm pulling for this team, man.
Yeah, as Zim said yesterday, you want him to just get it over with, win one of those 2 games in Muskegon.
Absolutely.
The sooner the better. There'll be watch parties at Buffalo Wild Wings both nights. I was there when they captured it 7 years ago, and it's,
they're going to bring that cup back here and do some sort of ceremony. Let's not kid ourselves here.
They have, for whatever reason, they've connected really well to the city and the community, and that's not lip service. It feels true. You felt it if you were there throughout the playoffs, but in my personal case, Saturday night. And I'm sure Buffalo Wild Wings will be rocking. But as Zim said, wouldn't we love to see a Game 5 in Sioux Falls to see what kind of crowd there would be?
It would be a hell of an environment, but I don't want to get to that point, man.
There.
I just remember watching the Canaries lose last year, and those crowds were great.
There's a little PTSD.
There's some PTSD.
I have convenient amnesia. I just tried to remember, seriously, just how awesome it was to have that many people. Were you at those games? Yeah, Cordell was there. You were at 1 or 2 of them.
I was at both of them, yeah.
I mean, it was just insane for 2-3 hours, those last 2 games. I mean, the crowds would increase throughout the playoffs, but wowzer, were they big and wonderful. And and the Stampede have experienced this. There's nothing like it. And speaking of that, Canaries are 5-1 to start the year.
Hey, go Birds!
And Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, plus Sunday 4:05. Chances to go catch some early.
Chances to go watch
baseball.
Jabari Henry hit a grand slam and then drop your phone.
Yes, indeed. It's been beer league softball out there the last 2 days.
Has it? Yeah.
I mean, 2 7-inning games, 9-6 lost game 1, 11-7 win game 2, 9-6 in 7 innings.
Yeah.
11-7 in 7 innings. And then last night was something ridiculous too. It was like 10-6.
That's fun, man.
But we're back to, at least for the Canaries, back to the top of the pitching lineup. Look, we had a full interview with Mike Meyer. Actually, we're going to hear from Canaries president Brian Jamros.
Oh, cool.
On this show today as well. About just the ballpark and everything beyond the baseball that the Canaries are providing and the stuff that you keep hearing about. Maybe a new park someday and all the things that the owners continue to do to make things better for the players and the fans.
I think I remember hearing you talk about the new park on the radio like when I first moved
here.
Oh,
I mean, before the Riverline thing. Was it before there was actual space?
Where would you put it now if you were going to do it downtown?
Well,
where would you put it?
I mean, I don't want to give everything away, but we talked about a possible new location. I mean, there's 130 acres that are going to be available in a few years.
Where is this at?
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about the
I can't tell if you were screwing with me or not. Yeah, where Smithfield is.
Yeah, Smithfield area.
Yeah. So, but it's going to take like 4 years to tear down Smithfield and just have the land ready for stuff to go up on it. But there's 130 acres, so a lot could go up there. And it's just going to make downtown even bigger. And you got the other side of Falls Park there, and yeah, that'd be a beautiful backdrop to walk into a baseball park, wouldn't it?
It'd be pretty sweet.
But it'd be a long way down the road. So for now, it's
no, it's just right down there.
We got the thank you. We got the charming old place where everybody knows your name, or something like that. All right, thanks, Trent.
Yeah,
appreciate it. Good times, great oldies.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Cordell. For producer Cordell Wright. Eric Henderson, Brian Jamros of the Canaries coming up. That does it for this week on Happy Hour. So a happy hour, hoppy refresher.
Happy hour.
Cheers.